but you want to get this book, okay? And let's find out what it is I wanted to tell y'all about this. There's a whole section on ancestral holistic perspectives, fasting, human energy flow, how the female thinks, and the female perspective on life, and then the male perspective. Okay, let's read some of those. Because as you're out here looking and digesting information, stuff's thrown at you, you see, you're scrolling. They call it doom scrolling, but it's not only doom scrolling, it's seeking. You're seeking to find the information that will balance and enhance your life. So, okay. Energy is processed in stages and cycles differently by the male and the female. When the female is in the feeling stage, the male is in the thinking stage. Their brains are slightly different. Female language skills are in the frontal lobe, and males' language skills are in the parietal lobe of the brain. I guess that's the back. A 2 to 3 month old male infant has a testosterone rise, which makes his thought feeling pattern different from a female's. Males talking to females should say what they feel, then what they think. Females talking to males should say what they think, then what they feel. Wise, wise, wise. You heard that? Males talking to females should begin with what they feel, then go on to what they think. Females speaking to males should begin with what they feel, with what they think, then what they feel. Females tend to feel, then see, hear, touch, taste, while males tend to think, then see, hear, touch, taste. Okay. And then he talks about the different human energy flows and perspectives and the principles and the stages. Okay. The female perspective is that the female practices ma'at and kupenda, which is love in Kiswahili. Ma'at are those 7 principles that we talk about a lot: the truth, the balance, the harmony, the justice, the reciprocity, the righteousness, the propriety. I feel as if I'm leaving something out, but you'll remind me. The female listens with the third ear, sees with the third eye, feels with the third emotion. Now, for me, that's first. I differed with calling it the third, because in antiquity, way before we were writing things down and drawing things on walls, perhaps, or in the grass or in the sand or in the dirt, it was our first eye that knew what to do. That's this one right here. That's this eye right here, right? Our first eye. He calls it the third. Be a companion. The female perspective is to be a companion and witness acknowledging problems with no right solutions or wrong solutions. So the female perspective is to acknowledge the different perspectives. Okay. The solutions. The female tends to believe that if something works, it can work better. If she feels bad about herself, she may feel bad about relationships and achievements. She usually cannot overlook their mate bonding spiritually, intellectually with another female. That's the woman's perspective. She cannot overlook her mate bonding spiritually, intellectually with another female. But with much difficulty, she can overlook sexual adultery. And then he has in parentheses, physical attachments. She's more committed. The more sensitive you are, and the easier you are to be hurt. She's more committed and sensitive and it's easier for her to feel hurt, right? She's more committed. She's most committed in relationships, usually compromises or gives in to her mate. She changes behavior by complementing positive behaviors, not by criticizing the negative. She judges attitudes and emotions of the words spoken, then the words. So, in other words, she's looking at the body language. When talking to friends and family, she is emotionally processing information. She prefers to socialize and talks in order to solve problems with her mate. It's the talking that helps her. Remember before we said that she thinks, actually, she feels. So, talking it out helps her to get to thinking about it, right? She feels first. She talks for closeness and to bring more ma'at into the relationship. She talks in intellectual and emotional details. If upset, she will socialize. She must feel good in order to be positive about giving and receiving in relationship. If a female has problems receiving positiveness and feels unable to have positive relationships, she may develop uterine fibroids or an attitude of negativity. Hmm. Yeah, interesting. I've also heard that the uterine fibroids, it might be in this book, have to do with a relationship with one's father being difficult. All right, let's go on. Her feelings cause the behavior of love. Her feelings cause the behavior of love. How you like that? If a female is made to feel special, she feels kupenda or love. She rewards and or punishes. And it's similar to taking in or letting out a dress. This is for people who sew. She may do many good things and still get no benefit from actions. If you take in or let out a size 6 dress in her mind, it is still a size 6, while to men, it is made into a size 5 or a size 7. She gives until empty. This is the overgiving that I'm always talking about. She gives until empty. Bad feelings are like a cold. Treat it until it gets better. Trust your mate to change. Your mate has the right to experience their good and bad emotions. So that's for the woman to remember. That's the female perspective. The female is not to punish your mate with many questions during a cycle of silence. So if you see he's silent, leave him alone. She has to have a feeling to talk. That's the last one on the list. And they're not numbered, they're just bullet points. That's the female perspective. She has to have a feeling to talk. Now, the male perspective is that he also can practice ma'at and kupenda. That's love. He can also listen with the third eye and see with the third ear and feel with the third emotion. And we just said that those are the number one eye first. But the thing to do as a male, the perspective is do not argue with females about their feelings. Do not give intellectual advice or solutions for females' feelings. They have the right to feel good and bad. Be a witness to emotions that she may share. Be a companion and a witness and acknowledge feelings and problems that do not have a solution. The male believes that if something is working badly or poorly, it is working, so don't fix it. That's different from the female, right? She want to fix it. She want it fixed. If achievements or accomplishments that day are inadequate, then he may feel inadequate about himself and the relationship. The male usually overlooks his female bonding with male friends on a spiritual or intellectual level, but he cannot overlook sexual adultery. All right? The person committed the most to the relationship is more sensitive and more easily hurt. Well, that's interesting. He put that in the third person. He's a male. So he was telling us something about how he views relationships as a male. And this is the male perspective. The male must have a reason to talk. His feelings can be changed by complimenting the positive, not by criticizing the negative. He usually judges the words, then the attitude of the female. When he is mumbling or grumpy, he is processing information. He prefers to be by himself, other male friends, engrossed in an activity to solve problems. He does not require his mate's help to solve problems. He talks to find answers. He talks for answers, it says. He solves details or parts of problems before the whole problem. If upset, he'll be alone. He must be aware of the positive giving and receiving in relationship to feel good about his mate. He must be aware of the positive giving and receiving in relationship to feel good about his mate. And finally, if he has a problem talking about his true feelings and does not feel valued in a relationship, he can develop prostate disease. Wow. That's African holistic health. That's Dr. Layla O. Africa's advice. You're getting herbs, vitamins, minerals, aminos, glandular, and food information, recipes, sexual personality types. I just shared with you some of them. Foods to avoid, self diagnosis charts. There's some of that acupressure charting in here that we are so aware of when we do our tapping. Each meridian point relates to part of the body, an organ in the body. The male cycle, and then anthrax, AIDS, and cocaine addiction remedies. Now, it's recommended by Dick Gregory. See that on the bottom? And you have to know, it says the correct shape of Africa. This is the correct shape of Africa. And when you include the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, it's more like a heart, because that's where African people are as well. But, everything's politicized and people like being separate and not building on their sameness and what promotes their uh, cultural unity. So when we look at the energy of a book like this and realize that many of our African holistic health practitioners may have gone through this training with Dr. Africa when he was alive. He left right during COVID, actually, not due to COVID, but during that period. He left a wonderful legacy. And so this is a great lens through which to view making holistic health decisions. Back in the day, in the 70s, we used the book called Back to Eden. You may recall that. But now you have an updated book, or you have this century's book that is also as comprehensive as Back to Eden was for many of us. It was our first introduction back then, right? And now we're elders. And you can reach out to us, those of us who are out here doing the work, and find out what it is that you need to really push yourself ahead gently. It doesn't have to be hard and fast, but you want to do it now. You want to take the preventive steps now. You want to just look at how you're eating, look at how you're living. Acknowledge those modalities that are out here that may work for you. As you know, I believe you're a work of art. You may know that. I'll just repeat it here. Aromas, Reiki and hand healing, and tapping or emotional freedom techniques. I use all three of these in Free Your Feelings for Fulfillment sessions, as well as to teach each modality. And there's certification courses that you can take. So join my community. Get this book from is it Black Classic Press, or what did I say? Africa World Press. Africa World Press. It's Kasahun Chikole of Africa World Press. And this issue was published by A&B Publishers Group. And so let's get it on. Let's do what we have to do. You have to build your library. It's not all online. You're getting a lot of information from a lot of different places, and you don't have a lens, a clear lens for synthesizing and sorting through the information. And now you do. So reach out, become part of our community, become part of our conversation. of holistic health because you give too much and you need to give to yourself. Keep yourself out of the emergency room, caregivers, overgivers. To your healing grace. Much love.